Welcome to this video on using subsets with Recollector. I'll be showing you Recollector on my map collection and running on a PC, though this would look very much the same if you were running on a Mac. Now a subset is very much what its name implies. It's a selection of a set of records in the full collection that share some common characteristics. And often, particularly if you have a very large collection, you often want to work with not the full collection, but with just a subset of the records. Recollector provides two ways for you to create a subset. The first way, and the simplest way, is what's called a search subset. So from the search menu, we use the find option to bring up the dialog to search for something. Let's say I want to search for all the records that have Iceland in the region field that I have in my collection. And now, instead of searching for the next record, I want to create a temporary search subset that includes all the records that have Iceland in the region field. So let's click OK and look up in the title bar, and you will see, though the collection overall has 213 records right now, a search subset is in effect and only 47 rows are being shown. Down in the lower right, it shows you the precise definition of what the search subset is that is currently in effect. Anytime you want to turn off the search subset, you can choose Clear Search Subset from the search menu, and now we're back to the full collection. The other kind of subset, full subsetting, is accessed via the subset menu. And let's show you how that works. And let's start by creating a new subset. A subset, by the way, is something which is maintained as part of your collection. So after you've created a subset, defined it, even if you exit from Recollector and come back in tomorrow, that subset will be there and available to use. Let's create a new subset, and let's call it Iceland Maps. And let's make it be equivalent to what we were doing before with the search subset. Let's say that we want the region field to contain Iceland, and we'll add that to the subset. There's a bunch of choices for the relationship between what you type in and the contents of a field. You can contains, does not contain, is, which is an exact match, and so forth. But right now we're just going to use contains. And we're just going to use that one condition. It'll be a very simple subset. But now we've created it. Let's use it. We'll choose from the Select a Subset submenu, Iceland Maps. And now look again at the title bar. It says Subset Iceland Maps is in effect, and 47 rows only are being shown. And that gives us some confidence because that's the same number we saw when we used the search subset. Now subsets are not just useful here on the list, they apply throughout the program. So if I switch over to the image gallery, the images that I'm looking at are just the 47 images for the 47 records in the subset. And similarly in item details, if I move through from one record to the next, it's taking me through just the records in the current subset. Also, if I were to export data to Excel, for example, it would only export the records in the subset. Now, let's make a slightly more complicated subset. We'll go to Manage Subsets, create a new subset, and let's say I want to make a subset out of all the maps that I acquired in 2007 or 2008. Well, I have a date acquired field, and I can say that I want to include records where the date acquired is in 2007 and add that to the subset. But I also want to include 2008, so I will OR that into the subset. So you can read this and understand what's going on. A record will be in the subset if it was acquired in 2007 or acquired in 2008. Note that this list of options changed from what we saw before with region. For date acquired, the program knows it's a date field, so it provides comparison operations appropriate to dates, whether the date is before some date, in a particular year, after a particular date. Okay, so let's click OK, and let's use this subset. We'll switch. We're currently looking at the Iceland map subset, but we can switch over to acquired in 2007 or 2008, and now only 16 rows are visible. So if we scroll to the right here, we can see the date acquired field, and you can see that they're all 2007 or 2008. It's possible to use search subsets and full subsetting at the same time. So I could now do find, and let's go back to the Iceland search subset. And now we're only looking at 4 records because these are the records that are in the subset acquired in 2007 or 8, as well as being in the search subset for Iceland in the region. We can turn off subsetting by switching to the show full collection, and that turns off both the normal subset and the search subset. So we're now back to the full collection. Now there's one new feature with subsetting that I want to show you. It's nice sometimes not to have to fully define a condition in the manage subsets dialogues. It would be nice to be able to leave some of the information to be filled in at the time you want to use a subset. Let me show you how to do that. Let's create yet a new subset. And let's call this one query for region. And in this case, I'm going to want to include records where the region contains, but instead of typing in an actual value here, I'm going to type just a question mark and add that to the subset. Let's say OK, OK. Now let's switch to that subset. Switch to the query for region subset. And up pops a query dialog wanting me to specify, well, what region contents do I want to look for? And so let's do, like we always do, Iceland. And again, we look at the title bar, we're back to that same 47 rows. But now if I want to go look for the Greenland maps instead, I don't have to go back into the manage subsets and change the subset definition. I can just search, I can just select that same subset again. But instead of Iceland, I'll use Greenland. And now we see the 44 rows where the region is Greenland are included. So it's a nice way to dynamically change the use of a subset from one condition to another without having to do the more cumbersome work of going back in and changing the subset definition. The query where you specify a question mark can be applied to up to 4 different conditions in a particular subset definition. So that's a quick overview of subsets and their use, and they're in fact very useful, particularly for large collections, because they let you work with smaller groups of records as if they were a mini collection, and you can go back to your full collection at any time.